Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome back. I hope you're doing all kinds of good. Today's video is going to be my Virgo season wrap-up, catch-up, favourites, show and tell, chatty video that I do every month, every astrological season month. You know what I mean. So yeah, it's been Virgo season and I'm gonna do the usual. I'm gonna tell you some things that I've watched, some things I've listened to, some things I've read, and the tarot decks that I've been using and what my tarot practice has been looking like. So let's get into it. Virgo season. Virgo season has been a hell of a time. I don't know what it was this year. I always get the end of summer scaries, like the Sunday scaries, but the end of summer scaries. And okay, is anyone else a sufferer of pre-seasonal depression, anxiety? I mean, I have annual all year round depression, but it's obviously worse in the winter when it's cold and dark and miserable and I don't get any sunshine. But that has hit me like a freight train recently. Knowing that we've been approaching the equinox and that the days are going to get darker and shorter and colder, which usually most years I'm all for that. I love the spooky season of autumn and the coziness of winter. But last winter was just truly some of the worst time I've ever spent inside my own head. And it only kind of improved this year, alongside the sun and the warm weather. So yeah, I kind of wasn't prepared for how much I was going to be dreading the winter again this year. And so the last few weeks of me kind of my body realizing that yeah, winter's going to happen like it does every year, that has been kind of a horrible time. But so we did have that September heat wave, which I know lots of people hated because everyone else is super ready for autumn, but it was a bit of a grace period for me, almost a little bit of a summer part 2 to try and get some things in order and make some accommodations for myself while there was also some sun outside for me to go and photosynthesize in. But yeah, this week, the last few days, the temperature has really dropped. I woke up one morning and I'd been in shorts all weekend. It had been really hot, and then I woke up on I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and it was cold. There was loads of fog outside. I needed to wear a hat to walk the dog. It was suddenly feeling like autumn, which has been quite nice. It's been quite nice. And of course now, as I'm filming this, it's the 24th of September, so it's now Libra season. We had the equinox yesterday. For me, this is my new year, because I don't know, I think it's a bit of a hangover from being in school, because the autumn is the new school year, and also my birthday is in Libra season. My birthday is next week, so it feels like a new year to me. Anyway, that getting my shit together, prepping for my Libra new year has been very much the theme of my Virgo season. It's been much quieter on the social front. I've been much less busy, but it's been good. I really loved my summer. I really loved the busyness of my summer this year. But I've also been really craving some more downtime, because I'm a person who needs a lot of time by myself to function. I don't do well with all go all the time, all around people all the time. So it's been nice to have some more downtime. But yes. Yeah, so I feel new year for me. I feel I'm maybe ready to start tackling some bigger life things, ? Or at least more ready than I have been in some time. So yeah, that's my little update, how my Virgo season has gone. I hope you have all had a good few weeks. But yeah, I'm gonna get into some stuff I've been enjoying. So I don't know why I'm putting my coffee away so I have anything to show you. But I haven't been watching a whole ton of TarotTube. Usually I will tell you all the things I've been watching, and I haven't been watching a whole ton of TarotTube. I did really Candy Soul and Soil did an Autumn Joy video, and she was also talking about the end of summer dread, which, you know, I massively relate to. And she did a video kind of talking about that and talking about her list of things that she wants to get to in the autumn to make the most of the season. I really enjoyed that video. I found that very relatable and reassuring and inspiring, and that was a really good watch, so I will link that in the description. And then as far as TarotTube goes, this week specifically, I've been really enjoying everybody's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 tarot tag videos. This has been such a fun tag to like watch and also participate in. I put mine up on Wednesday. I think Kelly has now made a playlist with all the videos, and it's been a really great way to like find new channels as well. I've just been really enjoying this. I feel like this has taken TarotTube by storm a little bit, as it should. It's a good tag and everyone's been really into it. But yeah, aside from that, I've been watching a lot of like art journal, art, collage, mixed media type stuff on YouTube because I have been getting more into doing that myself. And I will recommend Roxanne at By Bun, her channel. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with her style. I love the way she does things. It's obviously much better than what I create, but it's like very much the kind of thing that I like to do and like aspire to do. So I've just been binging her entire back catalogue of videos because I really like her stuff. So that's where most of my watching energy has gone, as opposed to TarotTube. I have been listening to some things, but honestly it's kind of been audiobook central for me the last few weeks, so I haven't listened to loads else. But like music wise, I've rediscovered Amber Mark, who is an artist I've listened to and enjoyed before, but like I listen to so many different artists and I go through so many like moods and phases that it takes me a while to circle back round, and I haven't listened to her stuff in ages, so there's like lots of new shit for me to enjoy, which is really good. Super recommend her. And also Chappelle Roan came out with her album. If you want some good pop music with a lot of like synths, I love me a synth, then give that a listen as well. So I've not listened to a whole lot. I have read kind of a lot of stuff. In my oh, do we fit in frame? Like just. In my last, what would it have been, Leo season wrap up, I mentioned that I read The Eye of the World, or reread The Eye of the World, which is the first Wheel of Time book, and then I read this one. I listened to the audiobook of this. Rosamund Pike has narrated the first 3. They are so good. I'm really hoping that she will narrate the rest of the series. But yeah, I love me what I affectionately term old white man fantasy. Like that kind of like medieval Europe inspired fantasy that's like very tropey and kind of getting a bit tired and old, but it's what I grew up on, so I really enjoy it, and this very much like falls into that category. It's like quite tropey and quite like the story beats are pretty obvious and pretty familiar, which I know lots of people will say because this was like a significant series that a lot of other fantasy is based on, so that's why it feels very familiar, but you know, it still feels very familiar. Anyway, this has been like a very good read. This is like my shit when it comes to fantasy. It's, how many books are in this series? Like 14 or 15, and they're all like 700-800 pages long. I love that. Anyway, I finished this. I really enjoyed it. Have I watched the Amazon Prime series yet? No. I will one day, probably. And then what else have I read? Shall we do fiction and then move on? Okay, I read The Girl with All the Gifts. This is by M.R. Carey. I have had this book on my shelf for literal years. I have moved with this maybe about 3 times before I read it. And I'm so glad that I didn't get rid of it in one of those moves, because this is so good. This is zombies from the perspective of a child of the apocalypse, I'll say. And that's all I'll say, because I would hate to spoil anything. I think I actually have Kelly Bear to thank for this, because she spoke about this in a monthly favourites video a little while back, which is what reminded me that I have it, and it's kind of been on my mind since. So I kind of had that recommendation in mind, and I listened to the audiobook for this one as well, which I would also really recommend. I really enjoyed that. And this also reminded me of a different zombie type book series that I've read, which the books are downstairs, so I'm not going to show you one, but it's the Parasitology trilogy by Mira Grant. which I would really, really recommend if you've read and enjoyed The Girl with All the Gifts, particularly if like the sciencey side of things was something you particularly enjoyed, because there's a lot more of that in Mira Grant's books. Mira Grant is a pen name for Shauna Maguire. It's what she writes her horror stuff under. It's really good fun. Anyway, this was like a very good, quite sad, but very good zombie book. And then the other fantasy fiction book that I got to was The Broken Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in this series. And look, if you read fantasy and you don't read N.K. Jemisin, you are absolutely missing out, and you should go and like resolve that imminently. She's fantastic. Her books are incredible. But yeah, this is the second book in a series about a world, a city, I'm not quite sure, where the gods are like real and present and causing problems for people with their like millennia long arguments, like very much like shaping the world, the reality that people live in. That's a really terrible synopsis, but I'm bad at giving book synopses, which is possibly why I didn't stick with my booktube channel, because I love reading books but I'm bad at talking about them. I will just like I'm not going to read this to you, but you can pause, you can read the synopsis if you should so choose. Yeah, N.K. Jemisin's fantastic. I also have the third book for this. I also listened to the audiobook, which again I thought was a good audiobook, would recommend. It's the Inheritance trilogy, and hopefully I'm going to get to book 3 soon, but we shall see. I also have read this, which is The Shapeless Unease by Samantha Harvey, and this is a non-fiction like memoir from the author, obviously, about the year or so of insomnia that she dealt with. And a fun fact about me is that I have never ever been a good sleeper. It is rare. I have times where I genuinely don't get any sleep in a night, so I don't relate to this author's experience exactly like in that way, but I still really appreciated reading this. I have never read anything that hits on the dread and panic, that kind of like visceral dread feeling that I feel when I'm completely unable to sleep. So this might actually be quite an intense read, depending on, you know, how you are as a person. But I actually found it quite cathartic to read this. Like, it didn't stress me out by reading about not being able to sleep. Like I say, I found it quite cathartic. And I thought the style of this was very cool. It's kind of like literary non-fiction. Is that a thing? So this is quite a short book. It was quite, you know, I read it in chunks, really spaced out, but it was easy to read. But I'm not one for literary fiction. It's too full of like metaphor and symbolism and things unsaid, which all goes right over my head. But it felt kind of like literary fiction, but it's non-fiction, so it was a little bit more direct in what it's discussing. So it was like easier for me to digest in that sense, but it still plays with form in a way that's like really cool to read. Like, there were snippets of this like short story that she wrote throughout, and it all tied in really well, and there's bits of like poetry and things. So yeah, this was a really cool little read, and yeah, weirdly cathartic. Oh dear, let's not throw candle wax everywhere. Yeah, so that's all the things I read, and I'm going to show you my little art project that I've been working on because I've been enjoying it so very much. So if you saw my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 tarot tag video, you will have already seen this because this was my tarot paraphernalia. But this is it's a little ladybird book that I am using as a sketchbook, scrapbook, something for my Major Arcana tarot inspired art project thing. So this is the Empress. Is the light gonna reflect on the little stars? Yes, kind of. You can see them down here. So yeah, this is my Empress page. I think she's we'll ignore the dodgy looking text, but I think she's about done. I I'm really pleased with this one, and I don't think I like where the Hierophant is going, but there he is. And then I've like bare bones started the Magician. So anyway, this is my Major Arcana inspired collage book. There is absolutely no order to how I'm doing this. Obviously, I started with Empress. I just like, as I'm finding stuff that I think would be cool for the different cards, I'm sticking it down. So like for my Hierophant, I've got, because I don't like the religious connotations of the Hierophant, because that's not my shit. But I thought, okay, like tradition and preservation. We've got begin your own tradition. We've got a little insect preserved in amber. We've got a cave painting of some kind of bison thing, which I thought, like, you know, that works for Taurus. And then I've got like the elements and the pillars of creation for the Magician here. And then, oh, this is my other Magician stuff. Got a little infinity and pure imagination. I don't know if I like that, the Magician. Anyway. I'm really enjoying creating this. I'm really enjoying getting stuck in with it. And like, obviously, you know, I love the tarot and the system and the symbolism. That's my shit, is the system of the tarot is what I like about it. So this is kind of like an obvious project for me to do, and I can't believe I didn't start it sooner. I'm kind of kicking myself how long I took to get around to it. I do, of course, have some plots and some plans for minor arcana books as well. I just need to get myself some more Ladybird books. Because these are perfect. They're like a good size. They've got sturdy board covers, and because they're kids books, they don't have a whole ton of pages, so you can kind of fill the thing up before the spine and the binding give out on you, which is nice. Anyways, that's my little art project that I've been really enjoying, and yeah, this is why I've been watching loads of like mixed media, collagey, arty, journaly, altered book type stuff on YouTube recently, because I've just been really enjoying this. Okay, let's move on to tarot, finally. So this was my monthly tarot deck. This is the Raven's Dream Tarot by MJ Cullinane. I did an unboxing walkthrough, first impressions situation for this deck when I first got it in, because I was so excited about the pre-order. So yeah, I was immediately just so like enamored with the art in this deck that it had to be my daily draw for September. So I do a daily, or I have been doing a daily draw with a different deck each month and kind of keeping it in a planner that I've got. I have a whole video about that, which is the most viewed video on my channel, so you've probably already seen it, but I'll link it below if not. But that's changing. I have a new notebook situation going on. I'm setting it up. There may or may not be a video on that depending how the footage comes out. Anyway, this was my September daily draw deck, which I do mostly to get to know a deck and get to know the guidebook rather than any kind of like actual tarot reading, because I don't think a single card is useful. But anyway, the guidebook for this is really, really cool. There are stories. Oh, the Nine of Pentacles is chilling. There are stories for each card, like what's going on in the Raven's dream. So each card is representing a dream that the Ravens had that like is the message for each of the cards. So the meanings are very Rider-Waite-Smith. Anyway, the cards themselves are obviously really stunning, as you can clearly see. I think this is my favourite MJ Cullinane deck in terms of the art so far, at least. I have a whole 4 of them. I really love the kind of really surreal feel to a lot of the compositions in this one, which I think is more obvious than in any of her other decks that I've got, which makes sense, it being a dreamscape. And I really love the deeper, darker palette and the like saturation to a lot of the cards. And also these turquoise borders, like, it's all stunning. This Ten of Swords really does give me a Ten of Swords feeling. I don't love a wasp. Anyway, isn't that beautiful? I think we'll leave it there. So that was my daily deck, which, like I say, I don't actually do tarot readings with. But I have been getting into doing 3 card pulls with Tarot and Oracle together. So this is the Tarot del Fuego and the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle, which I've been drawing together as like a 3 card pull. I've been doing 2 tarot with an oracle. How are we showing up? Not very well. So I've been doing 2 tarot with an oracle card, and I had these 2 together for, I don't know, a week or so. And these 2 look so good together. This pairing was lifted straight from my oracle deck collection and playing with pairs video that I did. Honestly, that video was great for me because it gave me loads of pairings to work with, which I'm kind of working my way through. But I think these just look so good together. It's like the color palette, and then this being so vibrant, and then this being on the black background. I just think they look fantastic together, and the art styles aren't too vastly different either, which is nice. But yes, I really enjoyed this pairing. I really enjoyed my readings with this pairing. It was really good for like a kind of quick daily pull. I didn't have to spend too long sitting with it, but it was quite punchy when it wanted to be. It's really cool because this is the Outgrow Yourself is a tarot and oracle based on, it's got all the Thoth titles, but it means that sometimes you get a duplicate come up. Like I'll pull, this is like what happened was I pulled the Empress card in this, and then I also pulled the Empress in my Tarot del Fuego. So that was really cool. I love this tower. It's very, this is more Marseille, right? Anyway, yeah. So this I've been massively enjoying. And then another pairing that I used, which visually looked good together, but I didn't love the read so much, was the Mystic Martian Oracle and the 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot. Which, yeah, was another pairing I picked straight out of my Oracle deck video. Yeah, so this one did not really work for me quite so well. I don't know why, but I just like wasn't really feeling this pairing when I was reading with it. I'm not sure if it was just not the vibe that I needed the week that I was using it, or if maybe I didn't like the way that I was reading the Oracle. So I was pulling a card and then, or pulling an oracle card and then pulling several tarot cards for each of the like keywords that it comes with. And I think maybe some of the oracle cards skew a bit like new agey, a bit starseedy for me, which like threw me off a bit. So I'm still figuring out how best to work with this one, because I think it's just like, I love the backs and like these neon green edges are fantastic, and in theory like I want to like this, I want to work with it, but I think in practice it maybe is not the deck for me. Another pair I was using was the Urban Crow Oracle by MJ Cullinane and the Vampire Tarot together, again in a very similar way. I was really going in on this Oracle and Tarot situation. So these work really well together. Like they look so good and they read really well together, but it does skew a little bit deep and dark and dramatic. So like be wary of that, because that certainly is not what I want all of the time. And like this is a really nice card, Sacred Space in the Urban Crow, but like Upheaval, less fun. Like it's, I think a lot of the cards in the Urban Crow and also a lot of the artwork does skew quite like intense, and then combined with the quite intense imagery on the Vampire Tarot, it can be a bit much. So like proceed with caution if you're going to use this pairing, but like they worked really well together. It's just some days I was like, this is a little bit heavy and like not quite what I was going for. But yeah, this was really good fun. I really enjoyed this. It was just a lot. So yeah, that was my like all of my sort of daily draw type cards, but as I have mentioned, I was having a sad, bad, not very good time for a lot of Virgo season, and so I also reached for my comfort decks quite a bit. These are my like bedside standby decks, which I pull out when I'm feeling, well, primarily they're there, so I pull them out when I'm feeling like I want to do a reading before bed but don't want to be you know, don't want any of my decks to be mean to me. But then I also will just reach for them when I feel like I need a bit of a cozier reading. So this is the Reclaim Oracle, and this is a feelings deck. And I've been using this a lot when I have been going to bed with like a head full of stress and anxiety and, you know, God knows what else. I just like to, I use this in several ways, but I've been really liking just flipping through it because the shuffling and the like swishing of the cards and the flipping through is quite soothing and meditative, which is nice. But I've just been like flipping through and pulling out cards that feel like relevant as I'm going. And yeah, the process of just grabbing cards that feel right and not thinking about it too much as I'm grabbing them. And then I kind of sit with them and try and figure them out a little bit. It's just been really helpful at sorting my head out before I sleep, or before I try and sleep anyway. Like, yeah, do you know those days where you're feeling a lot of things, but you're not quite sure what they are? That's been life recently. Or maybe you don't know those days, which, you know, good for you. But anyway, this deck has been really like beneficial to have. It's been really important in my practice recently. So that's the Reclaim Oracle. We've also got the Guardian of the Night Tarot. This is one of my MJ Cullinan decks. She's featured heavily in this particular video. Absolutely battered to bits. I did this edging and it's looking real scuffed up, which I kind of love. I kind of love how obvious it is that I've used this. I'm fairly sure that I said this before, and I'm fairly sure I will say it again. How gorgeous is this Two of Cups? But this is my most comforting deck. This is a hug deck. This is a great deck for working through some stuff without it, you know, like I say, sucker punching me in the psyche. This one also lives next to my bed and gets pulled out when I feel like I need to ask it a question before I go to sleep, and sometimes I use it in tandem with one of my other oracle decks as well, in various ways. And this is just, even just like flipping through and looking at this, I'm just like, oh, this is just such a lovely deck. And this deck is so, if I were to personify, how beautiful is this Empress? I'm sorry, I do this. If I were to personify this deck in a way, or give this deck a motive, this deck is just really like caring, it feels like. And like reading with this deck in particular really does feel like very, very much like an act of self-care. It's really lovely. Anyways, that is the Guardian of the Night Tarot. Also the backs, how beautiful is this one? And then finally we have the Outgrow Yourself, which has already featured in this video once. I love this deck a lot. I need to give this one like a bag or something because the tuck box is getting really battered. With, again, my favourite yellow edging. So, this one. Sometimes I use this on its own if I want like a little bit of advice. But I also like using this with the Guardian of the Night. The aesthetics aren't especially matchy, but the vibes work well together. I mentioned this in my Tarot My Chart video, and you know, shameless self-promotion, that's one of my like favorite videos that I've done, like the whole process of like doing a little bit of research to see where all my planets were in my birth chart and what that means, and then picking a deck that matches the vibes. I really enjoyed that whole process, so go watch that if you haven't already. But anyway, this was my my Mars in Cancer pick, because I was like, it can be a bit passive aggressive but also comforting, so it works well with the Guardian of the Night, which is all comfort, no passive aggression. And yeah, I've been quite liking pulling cards either deliberately or just shuffling and pulling blind, and then using them almost like spread positions for the Guardian of the Night. So, you know, I'd pull, what's this? Can you accept a new beginning? And then I'd pull a tarot card and use that like as a spread position and see what it all has to say and what I think about it all and what it sparks in my brain. And yeah, it creates a reading that feels both like supportive and also practical and also proactive in a way. Like, it helps give some of my anxious energy a bit of a direction, and it can help to like unstick whatever my brain is stuck on, just by giving me something else to think about. So yeah, it's holding my hand, but it's not patronizing me, which is what we all need, I think, when we're feeling a bit anxious and too much in our heads. Yeah, you want to be supported but not patronized, and that's what this deck is good for, I think. So that is the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle again. So I think that is everything I wanted to share from Virgo season. It's been a weird one, but it's been good also. It's been Virgo. It's been like practical, and I've been getting shit done, and I've not had the best time, but it's been worth doing, you know? Anyways, I'm excited for Libra season. The autumn equinox, like I said, is my personal new year. Libra is like my new year. I've got a bit of a new planner going. The autumn weather has arrived. It's all feeling very crisp and fresh. I'm looking forward to it all. Also, like I said, Libra's my birthday. My partner and my brother also have Libra birthdays, and we're all in different decans. So it's going to be a good time. And hopefully I will have some fun things to share with you in my next wrap-up in 4 weeks or so. Anyways, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to leave that one there. I hope you've enjoyed. Give me a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell me how your Virgo season has gone. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.